Hi everybody, welcome back to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, and in this video I wanted to do a bit of a beginner's guide to the Gunsmith and attachments for your weapons. Kind of look behind the curtain of what some of these attachments are doing to help you understand the language that the game uses, so that you can choose the attachments that will better suit your gameplay, or your particular strategies or tactics for a particular game. So if we go into the loadout, and the M4A1, it's probably everybody's favourite assault rifle at the moment. If we go into the Gunsmith, what we can see is, if you look in the bottom left hand corner, there's 5 little orange dots. So I can choose 5 things to alter on this gun, to change it. And the big thing to remember is that all of these things that we're going to change only make a very small difference to the gun, with maybe the exception of the sight. What I mean by that is, if you want to play as a sniper with an assault rifle, you're going to need to put a sight on it, really, and a magnified optic, if just playing with iron sights might not quite work. So that's the one that kind of makes a big difference. All the others are just making a little difference, and in fact you can make a bigger difference to how effective you are with this gun by simply practicing. Because you know that if you put this gun in the hands of someone who's good at Call of Duty, who's at the top of the leaderboards and things, with no attachments on it at all, they would do better than you with all the best attachments unlocked and attached to it. Alright, so just remember, they're just making small percentage changes. So whatever you do, don't get stuck in choice paralysis, or the paralysis of choice, where you're thinking, oh no, if I put this stock on, that's going to make the gun, make my aim movement speed better, but my recoil will be worse. Oh, maybe that was why I lost that gunfight in that previous game. Don't think about that. Choose a loadout that seems to support your style of play, and stick with it for a while so you get used to it. I mean, by all means, watch the videos from the likes of Exclusive Ace and Drifter, where they do their weapons analysis videos, and they're very, very useful, because they can often point out things that you didn't think about to try. I know I watch them and think, oh, I didn't think about that, let me try that. But even then, they don't make that much difference. So anyway, let's dive in. So we're going to choose 5 things. So let's look at the 5 things that I've chosen and why. So let's start off here with the laser. So the laser is one of those rare attachments that actually only has a positive influence on the gun, in that it improves the hip fire accuracy. So when you're running around the map and you've got your sights up, they form like a, roughly, I mean, you could say they form like a circle, and if you're running fast, the circle gets bigger, and if you slow down, it gets smaller. That's kind of the circle, roughly, that your bullets spread out around when you're firing with your gun. And simply, when you've got the little laser attached, that tightens up, so get better hip fire accuracy. If you go to, say, the 5mm laser, that gives you better hip fire accuracy and better sprint to fire speed. So what that means is, if you're sprinting and you press the trigger on your controller, the gap between you pressing the trigger and your gun actually firing will be shorter. However, the laser is visible to enemies, so people can see you around corners. So I decided not to go with that. And on this particular setup, I use a magnified optic, and I rely on hipfire quite a lot, so I thought just having the 1mm laser would help me win a few more close-up gunfights without having to aim down sight. Speaking of optics, let's have a look at this baby, the Cronin C480 Pro, which is a 3.5 times magnification optic. Look at this beauty. Now, in previous Call of Duties, I would never dream of running a magnified optic like this on my assault rifle. I was always a red dot guy, or a hollow guy. In Modern Warfare, though, lots of the maps are quite big, and lots of times people are hiding around corners or hiding in buildings, looking through windows. And I find that having a magnified optic really helps to take those people out at range, and really challenge them, where it might be a little bit trickier with just a red dot or an iron sight. It does mean that I have to hit fire more often, but it really works for me, and I'm very much enjoying using this optic, or any of the magnified optics, because again it helps me hit more head and chest shots, because the target is bigger in my sight. Negative side, my aim down sight speed is longer. So as I swing my gun up to fire it, that takes a little bit longer than if I was just using iron sights. Also, if you check the little stats bars down below, you can see that apparently this optic improves my accuracy by a fair chunk. My range goes up a little bit. My fire rate goes, so my gun fires faster with this optic on. But the control isn't quite as good, which is how much the gun moves around when not firing, if I have that right. So you can see there's other things that attachments affect that sometimes don't always make sense, because my fire rate shouldn't go up just because I put a different optic on in real life, would it? But there's no figures for these, so they're just making very, very, very small adjustments. But as I say, one of the things that you can do, and I recommend as well, is watch the in-depth videos from the guys like Drifter and Exclusive Ace, because they go into these things in real in-depth, you know, doing proper testing, firing bullets against walls and against targets to point things out that you may not have thought about. But that's why I've got that Pro Optic on there. Now let's go down to my perk, Sleight of Hand. So Sleight of Hand means that I can reload faster. And often when you're doing your guns in Call of Duty, it's a choice between how fast you reload or whether you use an extended magazine, because we only get to choose 5 things, don't we? And to choose both would be a little bit counterproductive, probably. You know, you could put a 50 round mag on this and have Sleight of Hand, but what would be the point? And it's really that whatever suits your gameplay style, because you can kill definitely 2 people with a standard mag, 3 if you're accurate. And then you've got yourself, would you have enough time then to reload before you engage the next person, or would you be better off with a magazine that you could just keep blasting them at? You know, and for me at the moment it's Sleight of Hand. I would rather be able to reload fast and whack another clip in rather than have an extended clip and then be caught out changing that clip, because you know in Call of Duty one of the classic things is you shoot someone and as you're reloading someone else comes around the corner and kills you. So I go with Sleight of Hand. Now the rear grip, this is very interesting, the stippled grip tape. So this has got 2 positives and 1 negative according to the main headline thing. So it improves my aim down sight speed. So remember how with my optic it slowed down my aim down sight. With this grip my gun comes up faster. It also improves my sprint to fire speed. So if I'm sprinting across the map, maybe even doing tactical sprint, when you press the trigger there's a gap between when you press the trigger and when your gun starts hip firing. With this, that improves that, it shortens that time, so that's really cool. Now the negative is aiming stability. And aiming stability is an interesting one, because aiming stability is when you're looking down your sight and it kind of wanders around the screen a little bit, you know, it wobbles, as it would if you were holding a gun up and looking at it, just wobbles. On automatic weapons, aiming stability doesn't really matter that much, because you're going to start firing and then you're going to have to deal with recoil. So aiming stability kind of disappears, because recoil is much more powerful. And if, because the aiming stability was off a little bit, you missed that first shot, you would then drag it back onto target and your subsequent bullets would hit. So in an assault rifle, even when you're going after targets at range, aiming stability doesn't matter that much. However, on a sniper rifle or a DMR, something that's very slow firing but does loads of damage, so you're trying to get a headshot or a chest shot, aiming stability is very, very important, because you want it to be rock steady when you're looking down the sight, so that first bullet hits, because it's going to take you too long to reload to get that other bullet off, and by then obviously the person knows that you're firing at them. So you can see that with an assault rifle I'm not really bothered about aiming stability. If it was a sniper rifle I would be very, very bothered about aiming stability. I wouldn't want to really affect that too much if I could avoid it. And then we're on to the underbarrel. So this is a bit of a difficult one, this one. There's loads of different things you can put underneath the barrel of your gun, including grenade launchers and the like. I go for the grip because it gives me better recoil control and better hipfire accuracy. So remember how I'm using that optic, and the problem with the optic is that I have to hip fire more because it's a magnified optic. So having even more accuracy for that, a tighter pattern, helps me to take people down quicker when I'm in that sort of situation. Recoil control is very important. So recoil control is how much the gun starts to bounce around when you're firing. Well, that's important because I'm using that big optic to try and take on targets that are quite a way away, you know, at medium to long range, and I don't want the gun to bounce too much because I need to get several bullets into them to kill them. That's where that comes into it. The cons, though, are aim down sight speed and aim walking movement speed. So aim walking movement speed we would normally consider to be strafing. So this is where you've aimed down sight and you're moving left and right or backwards and forwards. I'm moving a little bit slower because of that. And aim down sight speed is how fast I bring the gun up. But I've got a couple of things to negate the aim down sight speed problem. You know, we've got the grip, and we've got the. Was there something else we had to improve the aim down sight speed? I can't remember. Yeah, no, it was just the grip, wasn't it, that helps us with that. So, you know, that should help that way. And as far as aim walking movement speed is, if I'm engaging targets at distance, I'm not going to be walking anyway. I'm going to be standing still. I might even, you know, not go prone, but go down to one knee and fire the bullets and do it that way. So I can go with those. And then if we look at the other stats that are underneath, my accuracy apparently goes up, which is good. My range goes up. My fire rate again is increased. I'm not sure how that helps by just putting a grip on, but it does. And the control goes up. But again, these are just fractions of changes that it's happening. And that's kind of my setup for the M4A1. And that's kind of the rationale between choosing those things. Let's have a look at some other things. So we can put different barrels on. So I could put this commando barrel on. I'd have to give up something up. So you can see if I did this, my aim down sight speed would go up, my movement speed would go up, but my bullet velocity would go down, and my recoil control would go down. So that setup would really suit someone who was using iron sight and was probably going to be engaging people at close quarters. You know, you're going to be sticking to walls, you're going to be moving through buildings, you're going to be encountering people at short to medium distance, not long distance, and so that's where aim down sight speed and movement speed are very important to you. But bullet velocity doesn't matter because the people aren't very far away, and recoil control doesn't matter because you're not engaging people at distance, you're just blasting them at close range. Similarly with muzzles, so you could go down to the compensator. So the compensator improves recoil control, which is good. It's something I would consider. Maybe I'll give up something like the grip, but it slows down my aim down sight speed and means my aiming stability isn't as good. I don't care about aiming stability because again this is an automatic weapon, but I do care about aim down sight speed. So I think probably for me the grip is probably better, but it would be something that I could play around with. Again, if this was a sniper rifle, aiming stability, recoil control I wouldn't care about because it's only that first bullet that matters. I want to get that first bullet on target, bang, then the person's dead. It doesn't matter what the gun does after that. So aiming stability is important. So on a sniper rifle you wouldn't have anything to do with recoil control. What you would do is you want something that would improve aiming stability. I guess I should really talk about suppressors a little bit. They're probably going to change how they work in Modern Warfare over the next few weeks. At the moment, the way the minimap works is, even if you've got a suppressor on your gun and you fire, you don't appear on the minimap. Now that's different to all previous CODs. In even previous CODs, if you didn't have a suppressor on your gun and you fired, you would appear on the minimap so people would know where you are. If you had a suppressor on, you wouldn't appear. Infinity Ward are talking about going back to the old way of doing things. So at the moment, suppressors just reduce the amount of sound that your gun puts out, which could be good because it stops people knowing where you are when you're behind, but they do some rather strange things as well. For example, the monolithic suppressor increases the damage range of your gun. Now this is very, very strange because normally for a suppressor to work, what it has to do is you have to slow down the bullet. You've got to make it go slower, which would reduce the damage range. So this doesn't make sense in a real world situation. But again, it's another example of how Call of Duty attachments don't always work the same way that you would think they would, and that's why it's good to watch the videos from people like Exclusive Ace or Drifter, where they go in depth on attachments, and you can find out about things like this and think, oh, actually, I tell you what, I'm going to have a go with the suppressor. And that kind of idea of having a go with attachments and just seeing how it goes for a bit, it's a really important one. You know, try not to get stuck in a rut, but try different attachments, see if they improve things for your particular gameplay style, and you may well find things that really work for you. Okay, so there we go. Hopefully that little beginner's guide to the Gunsmith and the attachments and what the language behind some of those attachments means is helpful. If you've got any other questions, please put them down below. If you've enjoyed the video, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon.